Okay, let's move on to 6C, discuss and or approve the outside consultation for facilities.
Would it be okay for the public that I walk through a little bit of how we arrived at this, Chuck? I'll try to be succinct.
Sure you will.
Coming out of the Facilities Planning and Usage Committee were different themes, and those were presented to the board, remember, and we started, and we did a forced comparison a month ago about what is of interest. Now, one of the themes has been eliminated because there just wasn't interest in going that direction. The rest of the themes were bunched reasonably tightly, and we asked that we get some outside consultation. That's tonight what we're talking about. And in preparing for that, and you directed us in the office to solicit bids and go through this process. So what we did then was put together, well, it was a 3-page letter that doubled as a request for proposal, an RFP. And in that, just articulated our process at ESC would involve 3 phases. Phase 1, which is what the bids are for tonight, and that's all that we're asking for consultation on at this point, really is to review the work that's been done with the Facilities Planning and Usage Committee. And when I say review, we're really asking, are these things doable? Do they make sense? And have the outside consultants take a look at the facilities and add their take on it, since this is what they do for a living. The second part of Phase 1 that we ask for in the RFP is to give us a cost estimate, a range at least of what we're dealing with to accomplish what we want to accomplish. We're not talking about getting down into the finer details of you build this classroom and okay, the cupboards go here. None of that at this point. That's down the line perhaps. And so what we did with this, and then Phase 2 would be the development based on this outside consultation. Phase 2 would be, in our terminology, Phase 2 would be developing a district facilities plan, which we've been talking about for a while. And that's where we start putting together priorities. What is it that we want to accomplish? How best do we want to do it? What kind of timeline? What can we afford? All of those things come in Phase 2. And then Phase 3 would be actual implementation of the facilities plan. And we're not looking for a facilities plan for the next 20 years. We're looking probably out 10 years. And then we'll continually revisit is how I think the organization should function. And so that's what we did. We put all of that into this RFP letter and sent it out to 6 different companies, firms. The 6, there wasn't a ton of magic with that. Word gets out if you're thinking about facilities, and you real quickly, that grapevine is alive and well. So anyone that contacted us about what we might be doing was sent an invitation to bid. As well as one that didn't, we invited as well because they have done quite a bit of work in the district previous. So it went out to 6 different companies. We laid it out pretty clearly, asked for any clarifying questions. A couple of them asked. All but one of them came and visited with Steve and I prior to submitting their bid. And I would say we probably spent a minimum of 2 hours with each one of the people that submitted bids of the 5. And we'll get into that when asked about our thoughts. And that was partially to provide them with information, but as I'm getting more blunt in my old age, I just said, we're also sizing you up. What kind of working relationship would we have with these people? What's your track record? What's your gut? What does our gut tell about these people? Because it seems to me that your working relationship with an outside consultant is absolutely critical. And so we did that, and then the bids were submitted. I put them onto a spreadsheet for you, put it in alphabetical order. It could have been sorted many, many different ways. And you'll see there's quite a range. And so as we talk about this, I think it's really important that we make sure that we're comparing apples to apples and oranges to oranges, and because there really is quite a range. But for the public consumption, at least, that's where we're at this point, is looking for outside consultation, and virtually for a flat fee, is what they all came back as, for the most part, strictly for Phase 1. Doesn't mean we're building a thing. It means that we're learning more and getting deeper into the data to see where this goes. That's phase one. That really wasn't that succinct, was it?
Some of these, do you have a question?
Yeah, and ask for our consumption, you get a copy of that sheet, or you can say them out loud. I don't care.
I'll just give you a sheet. That'd be easier, wouldn't it? I wasn't in the packet.
Nope.
I mean, it's presented to us, that's public information, absolutely.
The biggest thing I see when I look at this group spreadsheet was you got two bids coming in between, 16 and 24 is one lump sum bid, and then you got a 14.5. You got two groups that came in very high, and then you have three that are, I would literally call them the same, 2,500, 4,200, 4,900 is,
Right.
it's really the same. They're not, but I mean, it's close. So the difference is, that's a huge difference. And you know, what I just tried to sort out here is the one group that bid the highest has the nicest looking bid. The second bid was just too big, whatever. And then you have the other three buying for all this. Well, we weren't, board members weren't involved with this, and we told you to go do this or whatever. My point would be, who were you guys impressed with? Because who do you want to deal with? Because I can't tell by looking at this.
It's gonna be you guys working with it.
Yeah, you guys working with us and us deciding and whatever, and you guys spent the time with them, which we told you to go do, and I'm glad you did it, but, I mean, I don't judge a book by its cover. I like it pretty good tonight, but the point is, that's nothing. I don't get it, so who do you guys want to deal with if we're going to continue with this?
You know the number of people who these guys have worked with.
I don't know.
Well, I think we should. You know, there's Danny Trimble at Old Arthur, Ronnie Weaver's at Charter Oak Ute.
Oh, you're talking about the references part?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Red Messerol from Lamar's, former Wall Lake principal. So, you know, there were a number of those people that I recognize right off the bat. Now, should that help me make up my mind? No, only that I can talk to them, you know, and
Yeah, right.
get a feeling from them as to how they went. I think that some of these people did not really narrow this down as much as we wanted them to. I mean, we wanted to talk about phase one. I don't think some of them were very specific about dealing with phase one. And, they throw these little tidbits in there. If they got phase 2 and 3, they would credit what we spent for phase one. Fine, we pay for it someplace.
Absolutely.
And then another one says we may credit it.
That means they're not going, by the way. I just tell you right now.
So I guess I would like to hear what you two guys thought, if you have a recommendation, and then if we want to, we can shoot holes in it.
Yeah. I'll start. Okay. In my mind, I spent the most time with the three lower proposals, just on cost. And I think Steve would agree that we were very, very honest and upfront in our visits with all of these people about what we're after, and that I shared with them what the potential funding streams are. And everybody got the same basic information. My recommendation would be is with Modern Design and Modern Builders, and let me explain my rationale, and then Steve can step in and add what he wants. Couple of things. It was the second lowest cost, but that really, I'm with Brent, that we have 3 bids that are really interchangeable when it comes to the cost. So that wasn't a factor. Plus, if you look at the facilities cost management group, by the time you total that up, it's virtually the same as the second lowest bid. They add in $900 and then some additional travel costs, which we don't know what those would be. Here's my logic for modern design is that we went into this and in the RFP, we said we are primarily considering some kind of steel buildings. And all of them said, yeah, we can do steel. And then they immediately went to why brick and mortar would be a better thing. And I said, we aren't averse to brick and mortar for any kind of building. We're not. But we're also looking to get as much for our money as we possibly can. And to exclude looking at steel buildings would be a mistake. The difference in my mind is that Modern Builders, Modern Design is their architectural firm, and then Modern Builders is their building side of their business. That's what they do. They can do both, but their primary is steel. And I don't want this to be misinterpreted. My comfort level with the Stensland brothers is very, very high, primarily because I've known them and have worked with them in the past. Does that influence? No, it does. No, that would not be truthful. It does influence because I've seen their work and I've worked with them. And their project specifically at Waverly Shell Rock High School, which is, I was there 2 jobs ago, adding on an auditorium and a field house that were all steel structures and making that flow from a brick and mortar building. Phenomenal structures. Extremely well done and extremely cost efficient. That carries some weight to me, is that in my mind we're probably looking at steel. And again, not that we would be averse to anything that's quality for our kids that we can afford. That's not the point. If that's brick and mortar, amen, that's great. But I also think we know enough about this that we have to consider high quality steel buildings. The other thing is anytime that steel was brought up in the other conversations, we kind of automatically went to we can do that, but and then something. In visiting with Modern Design, with Rob Stensland, the architect, he really helped me understand, because my fear of a steel building is, I'm a little farm kid, and I think it's going to be a building that, you park tractors in, and I don't want that. We don't need a Cadillac, but we certainly need a solid Chevy in this process. And he went on to explain how a well-constructed steel building, well-designed steel building, there is pre-engineering involved in it, but that's all we get to decide. It's a design thing. And then they make it the way that we want it. And if you look at what they did with the auditorium at Waverly Shell Rock, that made sense to me. So that's a long way around. That's a long way around to, that's what my recommendation would be. If you want me to prioritize them, I can go further. Steve?
When we started this process, I went back to when we finished the facilities committee meetings, and Brett and Chris both said on the last night, you've given us a wonderful Christmas list. Now we've got to figure out how to make it happen. And so as we started meeting with these people, and Kevin was very truthful up front with them of all the issues that you face as a school board with operating 4 buildings, the size of our school district, the territorial size, and the fact that we're not in a big hurry to take on debt. And you as a school board, and I think that I totally applaud you for that, you're not looking to put the school district in a huge amount of debt to make something happen, that you want to make sure you have the resources available. As we started to explain this to everybody we met with, as Kevin would explain the financing available, what our concept was, I just watched the reaction, and some of them, as soon as they were told, well, this school district doesn't want to bond, doesn't want to go into debt, it was like, well, then why are we here? Going back to what Kevin reiterated about Modern Builders, they understood where we were coming from, the fact that this was not going to happen overnight. the projects that we want to take on, we could not probably do all at once. It was going to have to come over a period of time. They were not discouraged by that. They also, I thought, were very truthful when I took them around and showed them the different sites, and I did that with everybody. Some of them wanted to take pictures, some of them didn't want to. Some of them wanted to go inside and look at the facilities, some of them didn't want to. And I would do whatever they wanted. Modern builders and structural architects spent a lot of time with me going through the buildings. They wanted to see, okay, you know, if we do this, what's your plan here? What would you like to see happen? And so then we showed them all the sites and what we had for thoughts for. And I was really impressed with, you know, and like Kevin said, we can rate them for you if we want. But Modern Builders was the type of person, when they sat down and visited us with us, they understood that, you know what, we're going to be working on our funding basis, on our time frame, and we want somebody that's willing to understand that and work with us, not put the pressure on us that we got to do this all at once, but we're going to get the most that we can for whatever money we're going to put into this. It's going to be a huge effort on all of our parts, starting with wanting to pass this voter-approved PEPAL. I mean, to show why we need this, what we're going to use the money for, why we need to do it. And I think Chuck hit the nail on the head, and we discussed this with everybody. It's a competitive business right now. We have to show East Sac County wants to do the best they can for their kids, and I think everybody in this room is on that page. It's just how do we get there, and what's the best way to get there.
It just made me think too, Steve, if I could add one more caveat. We also asked all of them about if we were to do some building, how would we go about making sure that our local contractors and subcontractors had an opportunity to be part of this? The answer that we got from Modern Design and Modern Builders, I really liked. He said that's always a priority. The issue that we've had with some other projects is that the bonding capacity necessary to bid by some of our smaller businesses isn't adequate. And we heard that before. The part that he took a step further is, but what we've done is actually bid that from the building side, and if they got the bid, then it went to the sub and they were able to use the bonding capacity of Modern Builders, which was a way of including local, again, local people should have an opportunity. I mean, they have to be competitive, all of that. But I really liked the idea that if we do some building, that I just like that answer, I guess. They seem to get why that's important.
We really stress that, you know, we're spending this money in our communities for our school district, but at the same time, we'd like to see a lot of that money stay in our communities. And if our local contractors and businesses could get some of that business, then we want to see that happen. And we all know, as depending on the size of the project, a lot of times that doesn't happen. And so we really wanted to see how the reaction to that was too. And I was impressed with their response to that also. This weekend we were down in Cambridge, Iowa, which is part of the Ballard-Huxley School District. My son and his wife just moved into Cambridge, which is a town smaller than Wall Lake. And Huxley, where their main high school is only 8 miles away. And they have just done some work on their elementary building in Cambridge. And I told Kevin, my wife and I went out there Sunday morning before we went to church with the kids just to look at what they did. And they just made it a great little elementary. And it was just, it just hit me. There are some great things we can do without breaking the bank to make our facilities great for our kids and show people, hey, you know, East Sac County's doing the right thing. And that just kind of hit me with some of the things I saw down there. So that was the impression I got. It's not that the other people didn't know what they weren't talking about. They were very knowledgeable. But just my first impression, just the fact that, you know, first of all, we didn't want to go into huge debt right off the bat. That wasn't our plan. We wanted to make sure we had the funding and that we had several projects that we were going to have to prioritize depending on how much they cost and decide which one we were going to start with. That was, I felt, Modern Builders, structural architects were right there and understood the concept that we were trying to do.
And if asked, I really appreciate a structural architect as well. and in a previous life at a previous school district have also worked with them. They're it would be what I would call a traditional architect company. Not traditional in their structures, just traditional in where the architect and generally will get a general contractor and all of that. And I was amazingly surprised at the competitiveness of their bid. Truth be told, we were thrilled with the quality of overall of the bids and the amount of the bids. It seemed to be a pretty good process thus far.
Options here. We can say that we want to take another month so that each one of us, if we wants to, can contact any of these firms and ask our own questions. Or we can settle on one of these firms tonight so that the process can get started. Or we can say we don't like any of them and start over.
Yes, the one thing I liked about Modern Design was that they included pictures and stuff already of our facilities.
They were very good going around and looking at the facilities and had genuine interest in what they were looking at. It wasn't just giving me token time.
And the other thing I should have said earlier is the timeline we gave these companies was extremely tight. I mean, they didn't have a lot of time, and we did that because that fit our timeline to get ready for this meeting.
Some of it, when I look at this or think about where we're at in this whole position we're in right now with the board, some of it is cart before the horse. We're asking them to come and give us prices on things, and some of them wanted to kind of opt out or maybe think the bonding thing was an issue, that why were they wasting our time since we don't know if we want to spend any money on it. The other part is we got this voted Bethel vote coming up now. And I guarantee you one of the questions is going to be from the general public, I hope, would be, well, what do you think you're going to spend your money on if we're going to vote for this? So we need to kind of, not that we need to vote on it tonight, I understand Chuck's point, but we need to kind of get something going. I know that being on the board at SAC, when we tried to get elevators at the school, we spent way more money on an architect, design firm, and it went nowhere. Maybe not their fault, not fire marshal's fault, but a combination of faults. It just fell through. And I guess, not that I want to sit back and say $4,200 is not a lot of money to risk, but honestly, what is it, a monthly milk bill or something? So I'm just saying that I'd like to, I don't think I feel comfortable enough this meeting or next meeting to vote on the two higher end bids right now. I'm saying that it brings it down to the three smaller bids, and I'd be fine with Modern Builders. You guys that dealt with them seem to be happy with them. And I think that if a letter was given to all other five of these companies, if that was whatever successful bid that gets this for phase one, sit back and say, you guys aren't out of the running for phase 2 and 3. Just for phase 1, we went with this company, and if it continues good, we'll probably stick with them. If not, we'll have to contact again. Really, we're risking $4,200. That's the way I see this whole thing. So,
Well said.
the way I look at it is, I make a motion to go with Modern Builders / Modern Design for phase 1 of this project. Yes, that's my motion.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to go with Modern Design Architects for phase 1. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
And again, I'm a big fan of not burning bridges, so if you contact the other people and say, we went with these guys, but.
And I will do that again. In the initial RFP, it was very clear that it was phase one, and we'll open it back up